Hi everyone, welcome to Reading with Reference. My name is Katherine. I'm a reference librarian at the Haverford Township Free Library, and today I want to tell you about two books that I've read recently and really enjoyed. The first is The Vanishing Half by Bennett. I'm sure I'm not the first person that you're hearing about this book from. It's currently #1 on the New York Times bestsellers list, but I do want to say that the hype is very worth it. I loved this book so much. If you haven't heard about it, here's the premise. Stella and Desiree Veens are identical twins living in a town called Mallard, Louisiana, which is so tiny it's not on any map. It's a town made up of pretty much exclusively black residents, all of whom are obsessed with lightness of their own skin, of their descendants' skin, and of each other's skin. Stella and Desiree are sort of the pinnacle of that lightness. But the obsession and the scrutiny wears on them, and when they're 16, the girls run away to New Orleans together. But after a few years, their paths separate. Desiree moves north to Washington, D.C., where she marries and has a daughter with a man whose skin is as dark as hers is light. And Stella stays in New Orleans, but she creates a life for herself where she passes for white. Nobody, not even the white man that she ends up marrying, knows her secret. Every person I've told about this book gets the same sort of look on their face when I tell them that last part, and I can understand why. It's such a great and unusual premise. We really don't hear about these stories very much in fiction, I think especially because of the identical twins aspect. The idea that two people who are so similar and who have such an intertwined shared history could choose such radically different lives is really fascinating. And what makes this book even better is that it doesn't stop with the premise. It delivers even beyond that. I don't want to give too much of the plot away because it's really great, but the twin stories unfurl beyond that initial what-if in such interesting ways, beginning with Desiree returning to Mallard with her daughter Jude, who has inherited her father's very dark skin, and Stella having not spoken to her family in over 15 years, not even to tell them where she's living, to try to preserve this fiction about herself, her race, and her family, both the one that she's left behind and the one that she's now built for herself. It's also a really timely read for this moment in our country's history. Bennett writes so thoughtfully and compellingly about the nuances of race in America, and I really enjoyed reading it from her voice. It's a beautiful, thought-provoking story, and I can't recommend it highly enough. So that is The Vanishing Half by Bennett. The second book I want to recommend today is Followers by Angelo. I'm not really a big reality TV watcher because it stresses me out to watch people yelling at each other, but I am kind of fascinated by books about reality TV. And this one, which came out this past January, is probably my favorite that I've read of that subgenre of fiction. It's set in 2 timelines and it follows 3 different women. In the first timeline, set in present-day New York City, we follow Orla Cadden, who dreams of writing a novel of her own but is stuck writing instead for a celebrity gossip site that's more concerned with clicks than actual content. But then she meets Floss, who dreams of being famous and doesn't particularly care how or why that happens for her. Together, the two of them had to plan for Floss to go viral and for both women to find the fame they're craving via a reality TV show. Of course, neither of them is too concerned with who they have to step on to get there or who gets hurt. Then, in the second timeline, set 35 years in the future, we meet Marlo. She lives in a village in California that is home to a pre-approved, kind of precast set of people whose every move, literally every single moment of their lives, is followed by reality TV cameras. But then she discovers an awful secret about her past and her family and decides to make a break for it and run away from the cameras and corporate sponsors and away from the only life that she's known thus far. And somewhere in the middle of all this is a catastrophic event that changed the way that social media, fame, celebrity, and followers are all viewed, but not necessarily for the better. It's only slowly that we as readers get to find out what really happened and how it's changed everything. And when you do finally realize what it is so terrifyingly plausible, which is part of what makes this book so sharp and so enjoyable. I think I'm probably like most people in that I spend too much time looking at my phone or at other screens. I know it's bad for me, but I keep doing it anyway. This book and the stories of the people it features was kind of the first time that the potential consequences felt really real to me. That's one of my favorite things about fiction is when it can take kind of a real life idea that feels distant to us and make it concrete and believable. Like The Vanishing Half, this is a really thought-provoking book that also has the benefit of being a lot of fun to read. I really enjoyed it. So that's Followers by Angelo. Thanks so much for watching, everyone. I hope you have a great weekend and find something good to read. Thanks.